Yeah.
is doing.
It's still intercepting the ball, and he's still in the right place
He's
at the right time.
transitioned from ability dependent
Right.
to his knowledge of the game, and you watched other players do that too.
Yep.
But he's been able to stretch his career because he's just such a smart player, and he's sharing that. And I've watched the team, and they had a hard time finding their personality, I think.
Yeah.
And even at the beginning of this year, I think they were struggling.
Yeah. We've got an email question here. What do we got here? John asked, "Who is your favorite Bucks quarterback, past or present?" Well, I got to admit, my favorite Buccaneer quarterback is a guy from the past, and that's Doug Williams.
Well, that's mine too.
I can't imagine why, right?
Well, I love playing with Doug. He
I
embarrassed me a time or two, I can tell those stories. But Doug was just such a great competitor.
I mean, and talk about a guy who also left here and went and won a ring.
Oh,
I mean, he's one of those guys where the thing that was amazing for him was when he broke his jaw. He walks up to the line and passes out the next play. You're like, gee, tough guy,
Doug had so much ability. I think different circumstances. I think he was one of those really intense, fiery competitors.
Right.
And had he been treated better by the ownership at the time, not the current ownership, but the ownership at the time, it would have made it easier for him to keep his mind dedicated to the team and focus, and he would have been even better than he was. And
absolutely.
It was such a physical talent. I mean, nobody could throw the ball like Doug.
No, he threw it on a line, 50 yards, no problem, all the time. Tell you what, we're talking about the NFL. We talked about. I got a question about the Chargers, and like I said, Phil Rivers is my guy. I think they win.
We've got that quirky release.
But it works. Now, we have the Patriots and the Jets coming up. What do you think?
I think there's a beginning of the changing of the guard. I think to say the Jets have a great team, but they're relying so much on a young quarterback that it's hit or miss.
Yeah, well, I got to think that this
so I don't
Sunday,
think they have the consistency to go all the way. Now, can they win?
Can they win this Sunday?
Yeah, they can beat anybody
in Foxborough.
They can beat anybody in the league.
Okay.
On
any given Sunday.
Well, that's true for everybody, but they can beat anybody in the league when with their team being fairly consistent, except for the quarterback.
Right.
And he's up and down a little bit now. He's a young kid. He's supposed to be a rookie this year.
Exactly, he should be.
Well,
let me ask you.
He's going to be a great player.
We had a kind of controversial thing happen this week. We had the fight between Johnson and Finnegan. Well, if you want to, that was a fight. There was actually, you talk about hitting above the head. There was all sorts of things there. They both got fined $25,000, which I thought was interesting. And this is for me, where linebackers had been fined $50,000 this year for head-to-head hits. They got fined $25,000 each. I thought that was kind of skewed. What's your?
Yeah, but you know what? It was worth it to see the guy get his ass kicked. I mean, he reminded me of the little kid on the back of the bus that shouted at everybody, and finally somebody called him out and whipped his butt.
There you go.
And you know what? Sometimes you ought to lock people in a room and let them do that. They shouldn't do it on national TV, maybe, because I don't want my kid to do that.
Right,
But I can understand the sentiment of this other guy. This guy's a little pesky little gnat. And to think that that's part of the game, of the intimidation, the distraction, you don't need to be that way. I'm from Alabama.
Well, speaking of being from Alabama.
Saban would never let he'd get really upset. Coach Bryant would have yanked me.
Well, I'm sure. Now,
not just out of the game, yanked me by the ears.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Iron Bowl. Are you crying after that?
Oh, I love college football. And I'd love to see Alabama play more than anybody probably and win.
Right.
And it just disturbs me to no end to know that if they'd made one more play against LSU and one more play against Auburn, they're in probably the national championship.
Absolutely. And it's amazing. Now that we're talking about some more college things going on here in Florida. USF beats Miami.
Oh, don't you love it?
Well,
I mean, if you're from Tampa,
actually, yes, I love it. I love it. The tough thing for me about watching that is I watched Miami starting to get the swagger back, and Randy Shannon gets canned right after the game.
Yeah.
And that for me was very surprising.
Well, the swagger, at that 30 on 30, or 30 and 30, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Coming from a program where, Coach Bryant used the word class a lot, and then they're almost bragging because they're
Yeah, that's
no
true.
class.
Yeah.
That was foreign to me. We played Miami. I played against Miami, and they weren't that way. When I played, they had some great players. Glover.
Yeah, they had some great players.
Wait, was it Glover, the nose guard down there? And Hara, Dennis Hara, the guard.
There were some great guys.
Great players. And they weren't that way. But you know what? We went down there, and they had a great season. And we're in town with having a good season, and they had 20,000 people in stands.
Wow. Got another email coming in, and this is interesting. You're talking about the local area kind of stuff. I got an email regarding the USF Knights. Why don't you mention the USF Knights are playing for Conference USA Championship Saturday? And
UCF?
UCF
Knights.
The Knights. You know, they're playing this Saturday. You know, that's amazing.
You think they'll get in the conference?
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Football. I mean, that could be interesting. TCU.
TCU going to the Big East. I think they're saying we don't want to be locked out of the BCS anymore.
And that's what you need to do.
And that's what they're saying.
Well, what do you think? Don't you think this conference is going to start doing the same thing?
I think everybody's. It's all seems to be about who.
If they want to start doing something with this conference, they need to add something to it. Then you get the TCU moving. All this conference shuffling.
Yeah.
I'm not real happy. I'm an old schooler out west, but
it's tough because you look at the Big Ten, which isn't the Big Ten anymore. The Big 12 has changed. Everything.
Or the Pac-8's not.
The Pac, whatever it is. You know, it's amazing. So yeah, I mean, I'm very happy to see UCF doing as well as they are, and we probably need to change our graphic to having the Big 4 to the Big 5 because they're in the top 20. So we need to make sure we acknowledge them. Of course, Auburn's now #1 in the BCS. Do you see that changing?
No, I mean,
you expect them to beat Alabama. I mean, South Carolina.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. It'll be a great game. I think Auburn and Cam Newton's gotten better as the season's worn on. He's improved tremendously. He was a running, do it on my legs quarterback.
Right.
He still has that capacity,
and
he's a great athlete, and all the other problems get me. But
well, let's do this. For those that are following us on Facebook, tonight's keyword is seafood scramble. If you're a Facebook fan, you know what I'm talking about. And I want to first of all thank you for coming tonight. We're going to talk a little bit more about some local things here. Lightning fans need to know that Stamkos is still on fire. He's got 21 goals. I think he's second in points right now. And they're playing tomorrow night against Boston. The Magic are playing tonight against the Bulls. So if you're a Magic fan, you're a basketball fan, make sure you follow that. And I want to say this. I want to thank our underwriters, Team Alita, who helps us look good on the internet and in other areas technologically. I also like to thank our underwriter, Barnacle's Restaurant, biggest sports bar in the area. I'll be going by and having some prime rib tonight, right after the show. I want to thank Margot and her team there. If you want to continue this conversation and send me notes, you can follow us on Facebook, or you can send me a note on Twitter, or if you're interested in being a sponsor and underwriter, you can send me a note at sportssoundoff@aol.com. And finally, I want to wish everybody a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas. And we'll see you guys the next time on Sports Sound Off.
Thanks, man.